Tony is going to speak again. So find yourself a seat. Elders first for seats. And I'd like to say that anyone who's hungry, Flying Dog Pizza right across the street is Pete Swanton's new business, and he and Steve Marston are really our biggest donors, because we have this place at an incredible situation, and we're really so thankful to them. So please buy pizza across the street, and they have a bathroom, which we don't have. And Steve Marston helps run the Playhouse, so our Willits Theater we're really proud of. So we just wanted to give a shameless promotion to those guys before Tony is going to say something again. Thank you, Tony. That poem was incredible, and I can see what I could just read this for you. Sneaking off.
Hello, everyone, again. Gather round.
Everyone, no more talking. Woo!
I have been to federal prison 3 times, all for either willfully failing to file income tax or willfully failing to pay. So my last tenure there at Lompoc Camp for tax, they're misdemeanors, they're not moral turpitude, they don't take my license. In fact, the bar was very supportive of the issue. So on the last occasion I did 10 months, and that was a few years ago. So I call it my peanut principle. You know, it's my principle. I can remember when I was representing the Hells Angels in a large case, they wanted to, you know, I had all these back taxes. It was like hundreds of thousands I hadn't paid throughout my whole career, and they wanted to pay it off. And I said, don't you understand? That is my principle. You know, people, you know, it was hard to grasp. So on the last occasion, I was there for the 10 months. I think I published 3 books, and then I wrote a book of poetry. And bottom line on that is that bad poets make good lawyers. And that's the category that I, you know, treat myself to. I have no pretenses that my poetry is anything but the, you know, mental meanderings, the scribble, you know, of subjective thought. But let me read a few and then talk about the subject matter later. So these were all done in prison. And one of them here is buried under sound. I'm lying on the lower bunk. The upper bunk is just above my head. It's a narrow bed, like being inside a coffin. I'm under 2 green coarse blankets, no sheets. I'm on my back, legs extended, arms crossed. My eyes are closed. I'm still awake. So this is what sepulchral means. The bright incandescent lights on the ceiling. I almost feel the sunlight on my brow. It's nighttime now in the barracks of the prison camp. I try to force myself to sleep, but all around me inmates chatter. I'm speared of sounds, high-pitched and low-pitched, whispering voices, loud belly laughter, the telling of stories, serious conversations, the Spanish language dancing in my ears, gruff, muffled talk, coughs and sneezes. It's metaphoric noise. It has colors. I won't open my eyes now. The din envelops me and comforts me. Dying lawyer in jail. I sit by my bunk smitten, my sword sheathed in stone, wars clashing dimly heard now in the cacophony of the barracks, inmates chattering tinsel, scattering my drooping armature. My mind sculpture is dying by hemlock dripped by the enemy into my self-inflicted wound. I lie down lastly to the echoes of lost battles won. Just a few little ones here. Prison, no, that's it. Prison is not punishment. I see the glint of pain in my loved one's eyes, like husband, dad. Will it hurt? Will it diminish? Will it weaken? Will he supplicate? His moral jeopardy impose the sanction? Has moral jeopardy imposed a sanction? With purring words and gentle smiles, I scream, no, never, not me. I don't pay taxes. I am a free mind. I am not captive of capital or government. My head is high, my chest puffing. I have not yet eaten my peanut principle of taxless society. I am not disgraced. I am not martyred. I carry my little banner of Excelsior into prison. Crushing hope. I feed on man's poisons, his suffering and despair. I sup on fear and trembling. My expertise is terrorizing, punishing, giving pain and torture. My art is deception and falsity. I crush hope. I suck lives dry. I specialize in revenge and retribution. I am brutal and sadistic. I am the prison system. Last little one. My legacy to prison camp is naught. I'm to be released in a week. What legacy do I leave to Lumpot prison camp? What mark of mine upon the penal grounds? After 10 months incarceration, nothing remains. A few writs, some legal battles, unresolved. My heartfelt conversations, dialogues with inmates, but gone, I'll be forgotten. I was the camp watering man, the rainmaker. Maybe green lawns is my gift. Now they will turn brown. What about flowers, plants, bulbs, and cactus? I love them all, but they have no memory. Nothing of me, of mine, remains. When I walk out of here, the prison camp remains insentient and indifferent to its inhabitants, past or present. But the inmate remembers. Long after departure, I remember everything. We do not forget, and we do not forgive. So, for me, prison is a refuge of mind. Instead of the tedious reading and spontaneously memorizing transcripts, that's what lawyers do. Good, trial lawyers have at least short-term photographic memory. So we must know every word a witness has said in the past, so that if he or she says something different, something contradictory, something even implicitly other than what has been said before, you can impeach them, and that's the dirty word that we use. Impeach their veracity, or they're not credible, Your Honor. And so it's a vacation from that kind of reading, where I have to read to memorize, sometimes meaningless speculation, and sometimes, how would I call it, the grandiosity of some of my clients. So I read constantly while in custody. I wrote constantly. I did, as indicated in the poem, I did writs. I was like a dentist. You see, I wasn't disbarred, so I could practice. So they would line up. It would be beautiful. Like on a Sunday, you sit on a bench, overlooking the fields. You're inside, a wired area. But they would come one by one, and you listen to their issues, and you never want to discourage. You always want to, place hope into their mind. But some of the causes, are lost, and some of them are dead, and it's a mixture. There's an elation, there's an achievement, there's an honor, and then at the other side there is pain, there's suffering, it's the chant of the not guilty, the animosity they bear toward the system, toward the law enforcement, toward the judges, and most of the time toward their own lawyers. I paid him a big fee. He never visited me once. I paid him a big fee. He didn't file any motions. I paid him a big fee. He didn't want to go to trial. On the day of trial, he gave me a plea agreement and says, "You're going to lose. Sign this fast." Now I'm in prison. I never had my day in court. Those are the refrains that you hear. So what is the message, in essence for all of us, is that even when, and they call prison being down, even when you're down, but that has a psychological meaning also, threatened consciousness is being down, feeling depressed is being down. So, when you're down, so to speak, there's always something significant that you can do and find and fight. You have to keep up the battle no matter where they place you, no matter what the sanction is. I told you previously, I'm going on 87 this year, and I have like a funny, odd, hope and desire. I want to go back to Lompoc one more time, man. I want to read, and I want to write, and I want to do writs, and it's restful and peaceful and beautiful. And therefore, with a little luck, because they seem to prosecute me every decade, I'll get one more shot, at the system through being incarcerated. Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah.
Can I please ask you about a case relevant to Mendocino County, two of them? The Bear Lincoln case and Judy Berry and Daryl Cherney, your triumph?
Well,
Triumphs?
here's where I'm at. Most of the time when I talk about substance, I have to refresh my memory from, the past transcripts and everything, so I may not have answers that you desire, but give me a question, I'll try to answer it.
Okay, I'll pinpoint the Judy Berry, Daryl Cherney trial. It's how I remember you.
No, come closer and talk louder.
I'll pinpoint the Judy Berry, Daryl Cherney trial. It's the moment I most remember about you. Sitting on a bench outside the courtroom, making contact with the eyes of the jurors each time they descended.
I have a methodology in terms of jury trials. Mind you, I started doing jury trials in '64, and for at least 3 decades, maybe 4, I was back to back. That means trial after trial after trial. And so, at a certain point, you learn things, and one of the things I learned is just what she said. I would always sit somewhere where I'd see the jury come and go. And normally I would try to sit with the family of the accused, to wit, his woman, would be a male partner and the children. So they saw it, and they saw, that person thankfully out on bail, because most of the time now, the kind of cases I do, they're in custody, but it helps humanize and allowing the jury to identify. And I can, I just recently did that ghost ship case, and it was going to hang by 4. It was a hard case, but the judge kicked off 2 of mine right at the end, so it only hung by 2. But one of the 2 we talked to afterwards, and she was, through conversation, not explicit but implicit, she was affected by the fact that we were always sitting there watching them, watching the jury. Anyway, in the Judy Barry civil action against Oakland Police and FBI, it was a jury trial. It was in Alameda County. Well, you got, I think it was, what was it, 4.2 million or something. It was the largest award that would be identified. You see, what occurs when the government pays off big, they put in what they call a covenant of silence. So you can't tell the press, you can't tell anyone else, you just have to, you know, take the, whatever you want to call it, the compromise, and leave it there. But in that case, we were allowed to go to the press, and I've always believed in that. I believe that, see, it's a no-no in my world. Trial by press, not trial by jury, you know, is some kind of a negative thing. No, it's important that the whole culture, when it's a case of some political, some economic, some sociological, import, that we all know what's going on, and that justice is not served behind closed doors and secret alliances and secret, agreements. So I believe in the press. I believe in the First Amendment. I think, my God, in the Ghost Ship case just recently, they fucking gagged me, you know? I would come out and I would rage at what was occurring, and obviously that goes to the families of the jury if they listened, on the media, and then goes back to the jury, and the DAs didn't like it, and therefore I got gagged. And from my perspective, there's a great loss of freedom when they take away a lawyer's First Amendment rights. So, forget where I was, so talking a little bit about that case. There was a case where there was a bomb placed in the vehicle Judy Barry was in, and it had, this is the way, you have to turn it on, so it was time-oriented. Then the next one was, I forget, if you've got to be, the car has to be going, and it has to be making a turn before it blew up. And of course, she wouldn't have done all of that to blow herself up. It blew her up, put her in the hospital. So it was a good case to show how reckless and wanton law enforcement had been in their regard. They, if you remember, that was voting registration drives were occurring up here, and the government, through charging Judy Barry and Darrell, in essence stopped that. So there was a lot of loss. So that was one case. What was the other one you wanted?
Bear Lincoln.
Okay. Bear Lincoln is a case where a person is factually innocent, and they did everything they could, from my perspective, to hide that. So, what had occurred is that he and his Indian friend Acorn, was it Acorn? Yeah. They were walking out of the Round Valley through a path, and I remember it but dimly. It was a path, through the hills, and it turned out Acorn had a rifle, and then it turned out that officer's car was hidden in the underbrush, and when they passed in front of them, the officer shot and killed Acorn. And Hootie kept saying always they killed them for no reason, They said he shot first at them with his rifle. So what occurred with regard to that issue is that the feds came in and they circumscribed the area and, looked for evidence. And what they found was that he had, after being shot by law enforcement, he had fallen over his gun and had never been shot at all. So, their case was a big lie. So Hootie, seeing that they were in a murderous mind, he ran away. He started running down the hill, and they were shooting at him. So what occurred was he had an automatic weapon. He tripped. He fell all over the side, or part of him fell. The gun went off, and sadly, it hit one of his fellow officers. That was shown by what was found in terms of bullet debris still lodged, in his scalp. That it was a bullet from law enforcement and not the scant little .22 that Patrick Hootie Croy had. So Patrick Hootie Croy escaped. He went into the mountains. He was living close to a religious organization, and I can remember Diana Samuelson and I went to visit him, and we trekked up there, and a fateful meeting, we were near the river. We were talking privately. I saw that he was innocent and being, made a target. We came back, we surrendered him, and it's a case that was one that should have been won, and it showed, and now it's more topical, but the bias and the racism that is inherent in the law enforcement ideology. Those are the little bits I remember about those cases.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.